speak up.
Order. Questions for oral answer. Mr. Louis Ng.
The National Environment Agency is continually looking to enhance its enforcement capabilities, including for high-rise littering surveillance, by keeping pace with the latest developments in camera technology. Cameras that are smaller in size tended to have a shorter optical range and duration. NEA will consider the effectiveness of surveillance equipment comprehensively in its adoption.
Mr. Louis Ng.
Thank you, ma'am. I thank SMS for the reply, but could I just ask whether there's a time frame in terms of reviewing the effectiveness of the current surveillance cameras? I just did my home visits again, and I still have the same feedback about the same debate that we had a few years ago about how when we put the surveillance camera there, it is good deterrence. People stop littering or throwing out the cigarette butts, but the minute we remove the cameras, they start again. So there's cat and mouse game, and it really is a waste of our current resources. So can NEA really look into this, look into deploying smaller, more discrete cameras so that we can have a more effective enforcement on the ground?
Just let me explain. We are mindful of the feedback that we have gotten, and indeed we are aware of this. As I've said, we continue to look at developments in technology, camera technology for more effective and better deployment. But in the meantime, to make it less conspicuous, actually we deploy the cameras quite a distance away from the suspected units. In fact, we try to deploy the cameras at ground level where site conditions permit. And only in cases where this is not possible do we look for an adjacent block to launch the camera. We also need to consider other factors that will help us in apprehending the high-rise litterbugs. For instance, you need to deploy the camera with sufficient surveillance duration, which is maybe a few days, 5 days or even more, and therefore you will require a battery pack. And indeed, you also need to make sure that the cameras are tamper-proof, not subjected to mischief, for instance. So you need to mount it securely. You need a camera pole. So actually, it's not just the size of the camera, but the entire system, which comprise the camera plus the battery pack. And indeed, also, there is this trade-off between size and efficacy. So you need cameras with a wider optical range because you usually don't have good enough information to know exactly which floor and, in fact, even which stack. So you need a wider optical range from which to increase the chance to apprehend the high-rise littering offenders. And that's the reason why, if you look at it, it's not just the size of the camera, but the entire system. But as I've said, we will continue to look at developments in camera technology, including better image resolution and detection capabilities. And at the moment, smaller cameras means shorter surveillance duration capabilities, as well as very limited optical range. But at the end of the day, enforcement do act as a deterrent, but for a long-term sustainable solution, it must be that we want to encourage all Singapore residents to take collective responsibility, to encourage and influence each other to be civic-minded and to have positive social norms.